Well, on today's scintillating episode, Mike and I are going to talk about the most miserable bachelorette in America, Joan Vassos. We're going to tell you about the millennials who are whining about turning 40, plus the Gen Z nicotine nuts, and finally, hush trips. Mike is going to tell you all about those. So stay tuned.
We've taken many.
Well, hello and welcome to Old People This Week. I'm Jeff, and that rascal there who invented the mechanical bull, that's Mike. Good morning, Mike.
Morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. I'm great, thank you. We are your hosts. Old People This Week is for boomers who are 60 years of age or over. So if you're not yet 60 and joining us, try to keep up. Every week, Mike and I generously impart knowledge so that you, our loyal viewers, will sound smart this weekend when you're hanging out at the pickleball court, the golf club, the gym, or of course at happy hour, where poor Mike has to spend 2 or 3 hours a week pulling me off the floor.
Holding you up by the collar, which is hard when you only wear a T-shirt.
Balance me on the bar. So I hope by the time this podcast drops, it'll be after Election Day. I hope everyone voted. I'm not sure if there's even going to be a president by the end of the week because of the way that people count votes in some states. They're not even going to start with the absentee ballots and the early voters until after the 5th. So who knows?
And I guess California is one of the latest states to come in, so we won't know where our Senate race stands or any of that other stuff, I guess, for a few days.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the Golden Bachelorette, Joan Vassos.
Shoot me in the head. God.
Listen, I had high hopes for this series when it started because you and I both liked the Golden Bachelor. I mean, the Golden Bachelor in its own way was kind of corny and stupid, but we enjoyed it. It was sort of titillating. It was funny, and it went by quickly. This thing is a drudge.
Oh, it's horrible. I mean, we were so excited, remember? We thought she was going to be the perfect candidate. You know, she bowed out early. She looked to be, just the right makeup, and oh my God.
Well, she's trudged through this whole process. She's unhappy. She's miserable, really.
Yeah.
And she talks about that dead husband of hers about 20 times a show.
Yeah, which must make those other guys feel really comfortable.
Yeah, well, but that's exactly right. I mean, what these poor guys have to put up with this every week. She goes over and over again. She has this weekly mental tug of war over what the hell she's doing. Like, am I supposed to? Should I be here? Can I fall in love again? So here's where we're at on the last episode that I saw. She invited 3 guys to go down to Tahiti, to where they were going to have the fantasy suite. And the 3 are Pascal, the hair salon owner from Chicago, Chalk, who I don't know what the hell he does for a living, but he
whines.
feels like
He's a professional whiner.
Chalk, the dumbest name ever, and Guy Ganzert, who's the 66-year-old Reno ER doctor.
Yeah.
So, I don't know I'm not even sure he's straight, or the way he's gushing and acting around her.
Yeah.
But Valerie, by the way, says there's no chemistry between Guy and Joan whatsoever. He kisses her. It's like the 2 pursed lips touching her. It's very odd.
Yeah, no, well, the whole home visit thing was a giveaway.
Mm.
You know, as he's standing out in in that tree-lined street in front of his little white clapboard house, and she's driving away thinking, oh my God, am I glad to get out of here.
Where's Chalk? Yeah, so they all went to Tahiti at Joan's behest. It's supposed to be the sexy part of the show, where they're going to be alone in the fantasy suite. And yeah, so they get to Tahiti, and so the first date is with Guy, the ER doctor, and he's gushing all over her like a 16-year-old on his first date, just, and he's, I'm so in love. And you can tell her, okay, and she's being nice, and but okay, no spark there whatsoever. And then she drops the bomb that, oh, by the way, when we go into the fantasy suite, there's nothing physical going to go on there, Guy, because I'm not going to do that on this trip.
Boom.
Boom. And
The ratings just fell through the floor.
you could hear people turning off their TVs all over America when she said that.
God.
And then along comes Chalk for his day with her, and he is as creepy gets. He's like
really-
you know,
He is. He's like a film that settles over things.
that's funny. No, he reminds me of a used car salesman who's standing in the lot and he sees some rube walk into the lot with like money sticking out of his pockets, and he's thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna score this one," and he's really like. He's basically fallen totally head over heels in love, according to him, in just a short amount of time. It's kind of just odd the way he's chasing after her.
Well, the thing that amazed me was the last show when they did the when they did the home visits. He takes her to a memorial service for his dead mother. That's how they spent the day.
Makes him meet the father of his dead 7-year fiance.
Just a creepy, God.
Weird thing.
That was weird.
And the final date was Pascal, my hero Pascal. I didn't like him when the show started, but then I thought, this is the greatest dude ever. This the oily French sort of Lothario who's very sure of himself and a hairdresser and the whole thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't even fake it. He gets on the island and within about 15 minutes he tells Joan, "I'm going home." And I think that the reason he says all kind of reason he's not ready and all that stuff, but I think it's simply two things. Yeah, he's not ready. She's just not turning him on. And also, he's not going to leave Chicago and that business of his to go move down to Maryland to be with her. And she's so iffy about the whole thing. Why would he uproot his life for that?
Yeah, no, and his family's tight. He's not going to drive his Aston Martin at high speeds through the streets of Maryland or wherever she's from. I mean, he's very comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah, he is. And he is. He's not going down there. Yeah. So anyway, that's the three of them, and that's where we're at right now. So I want to look straight into the camera. If there's anybody that works at ABC and works on this show, happens to see this episode, as a television producer myself, and I know how trouble it is to do reality shows because you can't control anything, or not a whole lot. Next time, though, if you're going to pick a Bachelorette, here's my advice. You get a randy, horny, sexy, mid-60s woman who is way over her husband or divorced or whatever. She wants to have fun and maybe go a little crazy in the fantasy suites before she gets married. So there's something sexy, something fun, something. This is just a dirge.
It's just, well, the big mistake on this last show we both watched was that close-up of her putting her makeup on. That was frightening. I mean, it was really frightening. God, I mean, these big swabs of lipstick and her mouth goes from ear to ear anyway. I mean, it was just, oh, God, it was creepy.
Like that. Smile like the Joker.
Yeah.
Or just slathering on stuff to cover up, to get off. Anyways, that was, well, whatever. Anyway, so Joan, hope. I can't wait for this thing to be over. By the way, here's my prediction. And we'll see if it comes true. She's not going to choose any one of these three. She's just going to say, hell with it. I'm going back home, sorry, and flee. If they were super smart, they'd make Pascal the next one, because Pascal would know what to do in that fantasy room.
Well, he'd mandate that the candidates would all have to be younger than 35.
Yeah. You'd like those old guys we see at the bars out here, on the lookout for young women.
Yeah.
And Pascal driving it right, his Aston Martin or his Jaguar, whatever that was, around, have him. That would be a fun show. Yeah. Right now, though, it's no fun. All right. Other thing that's, what else is not fun? If you're 40, if you're a millennial turning 40, by the way, that's not fun.
Oh God! Oh my God! What a trauma! What a trauma!
When I turned 40, I turned 40 and I probably went out and had dinner, got drunk, or did something fun. I didn't sit there and have full of angst and worried about everything in my life. And these young millennials are turning 40. You're a millennial, by the way, if you were born between 1981 and 1996.
Poor little things.
Poor little things. So according to this writer who wrote about it, he says that turning 30 says adult. Turning 50 means you're officially AARP eligible. Well, by the way, you're officially AARP eligible nowadays when you're like, they'll start sending you material when you're in your 20s.
Oh, yeah. No, it's the pre-sale.
I got my magazine today. I don't know if those millennials got theirs. One of those millennials are turned on to see Samuel L. Jackson on front of it. Maybe that's why they don't want to. They're worried about getting old.
They make the letters any bigger on the cover of that magazine, they'll have to wrap it around to the back cover.
They don't talk about big. I've seen your phone thing. You have what? The letters on your phone are this big.
Like that. Like that. I can read it in the dark from a distance.
From a distance. It's like you could read it like the optometrist office. They put it up there on the wall.
Yeah, like
you could read it.
Read your phone with
Read your phone across the room. But they look at it as being they've turned 40, they've done nothing with their miserable millennial lives, and now they're going to have to face the fact that they're also getting old. And this article said literature suggests that happiness or our satisfaction with life as we age is U-shaped, meaning when we're young we're happy, and then that declines, bottoming out in middle age between 40 and 50. The low point, he says, statistically, is when you're 47.2 years old. That's when you're the unhappiest. That's when Pascal went out and got his Alfa Romeo, right, at 47.2 years. And as we pass middle age and get older, we get happier again. No kidding. I'm barely a happy guy.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember freaking out over these transitions. In fact, the 40th birthday party that Mary gave me was a surprise party, and to this day was one of the most fun parties I've ever had. It was great.
But you have to grasp it. You have to enjoy life. You have to not look at it as being the end of something, but the beginning of something new. You can't be all pessimistic about there. This is the whole theme of this show. This Joan Vassos. We'll have her go talk to these millennials. She can tell them.
Yeah.
Anyways, another thing that our dear friends. Well, this is Gen Z actually. They had this whole yarn, this whole thing you sent me about how Gen Z kids really. Under, between 20 and 30.
Guys,
yeah, guys, by the way, right, for sure.
Yeah.
Are they buy that they have this product that it's like a tobacco pouch, right?
Yeah, little pillow-shaped pouch, and they just tuck it in their lower lip.
A little, what did they used to say? A little something between your lip and your cheek.
And you get gum cancer, and then you die.
It's like all the cowboys of your era died that way from having their snuff.
They did. Everyone I grew up with who was, born on a ranch, worked on a ranch, rodeoed, showed horses, whatever, my whole crowd when I was growing up. Almost all the guys in the rodeo circuit were doing what we call dipping.
Yeah,
and they tap a little snuff in their bottom lip and
yeah. They get that in there, they work it around. And then they spit it somewhere.
Oh, great!
And by the time that we were of age, there was no more spittoons in the bars, and so they were just spitting on the floor or whatever. So here's your typical Gen Z guy. He's sipping a Negroni. You know what a Negroni is? A little vermouth. Yeah.
It's not a martini. I'm not familiar with it.
No, it's vermouth. Sweet vermouth, gin, and Campari.
Yeah, God.
That's all it is. And it's bitter as hell. But anyway,
why would you do that to good gin?
Well, they like it. It was gin, whatever Z's. They love it. They pull on their vapes, and then they chew these Zyn packets so that they look cool. It's a brand of nicotine pouches produced by Swedish Match, a subsidiary of Philip Morris International.
Of course.
Yeah. Last year they sold Americans about 350 million cans of the product. So they come in little cans. They say they're like kidney shaped, and they fit into your pocket. And these guys, Gen Zers, go from bar to bar, and they walk outside, and they sneak one of these up between their cheek and gum so that their girlfriends don't know they're doing it, and then that's how they get buzzed. They're frequently discussed, these things, as potential smoking cessations tool, to help you quit smoking, although some Zyn users were never cigarette smokers or vapors to begin with. They got hooked on nicotine buzz delivered by Zyn. It comes in flavors like wintergreen, cinnamon, chili, and a single pouch is intended to last about 30 minutes.
Yeah. And if you believe a product made by a company that's one of the largest tobacco producers and sellers in the world is not smoking related,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
pay attention.
When my wife and I were recently in Paris, and people still smoke there. I thought
Everybody.
yeah.
Everybody.
Well, you can't smoke like inside the restaurant, but every French restaurant has tables on the outside, and that you can smoke out there.
Yeah.
Smoke in the street. One time, the first time I went to Paris was many years ago. It was like 35 years ago for work, and we were walking down the street, and a movie let out, and as the doors to this movie theater opened, smoke came out. They were smoking in the movie theater.
Oh, God.
Anyways, all right. So did I tell you what the word of the year is according to Collins Dictionary?
Oh, is this the one? I can't remember.
I'll tell you what it is, because you and I popularized it. They should be sending us some.
We did.
sending
We
us
spread it
residuals.
worldwide. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the word brat.
Brat.
We used it as we talked about it months ago. We
Yeah.
used it as the title of one of our episodes. It was coined by singer Charlie XCX as the title of her 6th studio album, and has been defined as characterized by a confident, independent, and hedonistic attitude. Again, you know who could use a little brat? Joan Vassos. She should be a brat. She's whatever the opposite of a brat is. That's hers. It's brat is a cultural phenomenon that has resonated with people globally. Like, for example, this past summer was called Brat Summer.
Yeah. Wasn't our favorite break dancer? Wasn't people
Ray
were
Gun.
calling her Ray Gun. They were calling her Brat. No,
She was a brat, all right. Oh, okay. Now, here's a story that you sent me that at first I thought, this is nuts. I don't even know if I want to talk about it, but it is so stupid that that I have to get into it. So this couple, Tom Bryken and his wife Mackenzie Powell, they're living in a tiny little trailer up in Washington, the state of Washington, and they have a little one. And I think his name was Robbie, and they realize that they got to move out of this trailer. So they go hunting around for a house, and there's an island there in Puget Sound called Whidbey Bay, and it's very chic, I guess. I mean, it's not it's like some cheap little place, but they found a house there, and it's big, like over 3,000 square foot, and it was priced at $850K, which sounds like a lot, but it's for there and for that size of a house, it's not a lot.
red flag.
Yeah, it kind of should have been a red flag, but they were told that it was going to need some TLC, and he said that, well, I don't mind having work and gain a little sweat equity. The wife and I will get in there and clean this thing up.
Yeah.
Well, they get in there, and they're there for a little while, and then one night during the unusually warm May of 2023, the family cat Teddy woke everyone up jumping around. I'm like, what's wrong with Teddy? He's going berserk and everything. They look up, Powell says, and he sees a rat. Or she sees a rat. She tumbled out of bed, wraps the baby in the blankets, and shouts at, Bryken, her husband. She goes, deal with this bat. So he grabs a bucket and forces the bat out the window somehow. This goes like we were talking about our friend Paul. He was on last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
We asked him how he caught the bat in his house. Paul, he goes, well, I put a piece of Tupperware over it, and I'm not, yeah.
Not this guy.
Not this guy. I'm not going to deal with these bats. I don't know what I'd do, but I wouldn't be putting any Tupperware on it and trying to carry it out. A few weeks after that, Powell's mom visited and spotted through the bathroom window an overwhelming number of what she believed to be bats nosediving around the house.
Oh.
You look out your window, there's all kind of bats all over the place.
Honey, come here. I want to show you something.
Yeah. This is your mother-in-law, by the way, who's saying that to you. She's not going, honey. She's going, get over here and figure out where these rats are flying around the house. And then the next day, when it was light enough to take a closer look, they realized the true extent of the problem. my sister, my mom, and I stand out at the front door at dusk, says Riken, and I just see the bats pouring out of the house. I'm just aghast. By July, so just 2 months after they get in there, they realize that the scale of the bat population in their home was larger than they had imagined. Thousands of bats were living in the walls of the house.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I had a situation, the house I lived in Los Angeles, it had bees got in there.
Oh, yeah.
Like one bee that was called a scout bee was looking around for a place for the rest of his 9 million buddies to park themselves, and he found a part, got up into our chimney,
Oh, wow.
and we had to call a guy to come over there. He was able to kill him and get him out of there. So, anyways, this couple is in despair. They don't know what to do. They got bats everywhere. There's bat poop everywhere. Bats living all over the inside, have been making noise,
Oh,
chasing the cat around, flying in and out of the house. They figured that the previous owner knew about this problem and either forgot to mention it or just didn't want to mention it, before, just so he can get it sold. And the inspector that they had, either he knew about the bats or he didn't say anything. He said, "Oh, you might have a minor rodent problem." So they go to the insurance company and they say, "Now what are we going to do? Can you help get us some money here to help get somebody in here to kill these bats?" And the insurance company said, "Nope, that's pre-existing before our time. It's on you."
Yeah, and it wasn't in the pre-sale inspection.
Right.
So you're out of luck.
You're out of luck. Plus, then the family, the three of them, have to go get a series of rabies shots. It's not like going to get one rabies shot, like you go get one flu shot. You got to go like 4 or 5 times and you get 4 or 5 shots every time. And they finally, in July of 2023, so now it's another month in, they gathered in the kitchen to strategize their next move. They spotted another little bat swooping around the ceiling, and that's it. And the wife said, "We got to get the hell out of here." She runs out of the house with the baby. Riken chases the bat. It perched itself, according to this article, among the trimmings of a black crystal chandelier in the kitchen. He swears he heard it laughing at him. He caught it with a fishing net, then instinctively smashed it with his shoe. So he jumped on it and smashed it. And he put its pancaked body on ice to send to the state rabies testing. It came back inconclusive. So they were screwed there too. So then the state of Washington says, now they're alerted to this. So they said, well, the house is not habitable. You got to get the hell out of there. Yeah. So they're crying. They don't know what to do. What do? They move back to their trailer.
Oh, man.
Oh, anyway, long story short, after this, they finally scrounge up enough money to pay for an exterminator to come in there and get rid of those bats. They had to seal up every hole where the bat got in. They got to find everyone that was still in there and tear down all the walls and get rid of all the bat crap that was in there. And now they're back in the house a year later.
We used to have a little house in Puerto Vallarta back in the days before it turned into San Diego South. And we'd go down there, a couple times a month from San Francisco. And we went down one time, and it was the same thing. The bats were all over the top of the house. They weren't inside the house, but they were absolutely swarming the upper level and the outside. And it was really creepy. I can't imagine having a house full of them inside.
Yeah, it was like this. Yeah, right. I don't know if there's any difference between a Washington bat and a Mexico bat, but you don't want anything around you to be flying around in the middle of the night.
No.
It's weird how we used to go to vacation in Hawaii, and the house we had was near the ocean, and there'd be bats there every night come flying around. There's bats here, by the way, at night.
Yeah, yeah. You see the bat, yeah.
Brian, they come at like sundown, and all of a sudden they're flying all over the place, and they're small ones here or something. I don't think they're very big.
No, they're little guys. I think they live in the palm trees. But we're not done.
Yeah, those palm trees. That's another thing. Yeah, palm trees got those rats creeping up and down them too.
Rats and bats. There's a
rats and bats in your palm trees. How's that for a prospective homeowner?
Well, welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah, welcome to the neighborhood. Meet your new neighbors. All right. I love more of the talking about our dumb Gen X friends because they do such weird things. You know what a Cracker Barrel is, the store?
Yeah, they have good food. They have a good burger.
All right.
Cracker Barrel burger is a good burger.
Right, and they're sort of a Midwestern thing generally, and you can see them, the signs for them off the interstates and stuff, and they're kind of hokey. They sell all kinds of stuff in there. They, stuff for your home, stuff for like jams, jelly, all kind of thing, and a restaurant.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like a general store.
kind of like a general store. That's a good way to
Yeah.
put it. A recent social media scroll. I'm looking around. I found this young lady on TikTok, and she's flaunting this Cracker Barrel sweater she got.
Oh, the grandma sweater, right?
Yeah, no, well, it was
Yeah.
a sweater, and it's definitely a grandma sweater,
Yeah.
and on it had a picture of a black lab, really corny,
Yeah.
sort of like the sweater version of the picture of a bunch of dogs playing poker, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So of course the millennials, Gen X, they think that's the funniest thing in the world. So now they have whole sites and millions of viewers that are talking about going to Cracker Barrel to get their apparel for the winter.
Love it.
I have a
Bad
picture of it.
Bad Christmas sweaters.
Yeah, well, bad. Yeah, well, we invite. Unfortunately, that's on us. I think
Yeah.
we invented the bad Christmas sweater, our generation. So, at any rate, that's the new thing. If you haven't got your Cracker Barrel sweater yet, Mike, you better run over to one and get one.
I will. It's one of the few places where you won't find contaminated meat or E. coli or something else that'll kill you. So it's pretty good indirect marketing on their part.
That's because they're out there shooting venison and cutting it up in the back and serving it at Cracker Barrel. They're not buying it from Boar's Head. Listeria, by the way, it's striking everywhere.
God, what do you do with 100 million pounds of bad meat?
Send it to Mexico. Do something with it.
God.
Sell it to somebody that's not us.
What amazes me is you walk in a store and you see these giant racks of boar's head packaged meats. And I just wonder how long it's been sitting there.
Yeah,
Who the hell's going to buy that stuff?
well, nobody's going to buy it now. I mean, it's not like it's under publicized. Now everybody's heard of this Listeria thing in Boar's Head. It's probably killing them. I'm going to have to tell our friend Rick to sell all his Boar's Head stock. He's probably thinking, oh, he's going to short it. They'll be back. I'll get some now at cheap, now that they got bad meat. All right. The pandemic started for me on March 20th, 2020. That was a Friday. And on that day, Governor Newsom, California, said, everybody go home. And so I brought my staff of this television show I was working on into a conference room, and I said, go home, we're going to work remotely. And which was difficult when you're a television show because we still had on there was a show coming on Monday, and we had to figure out how to do it not from a studio. So we had to go out to the talent's house, the star's house, and put up a little makeshift studio at her place, and make sure she had the right camera, make sure that we could get the footage transmitted back to the studio, and she did things like she had her daughter, who was about 8 years old at the time, they'd load the script into an iPad, and her little daughter would sit there and run the iPad like a teleprompter so she could read the script.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, we did it. We got it going. And basically, we were able to do it. And most companies in America at the time had people just working remotely. They just, didn't come to work. They could. And that spawned all sorts of things. For school kids, it was difficult going to school remotely, on Zoom or whatever. And companies that, the meetings, it was difficult for some people to get involved, to stay fresh, because it's just difficult. And then there's also the people who didn't take it seriously at all, who were basically using it as a front not to even be where they said they were going to be.
Yeah.
And that's what we call a hush trip.
Hush trip.
Hush trip.
As in, hush, don't tell anybody where I really am.
Yeah, it's a hush trip is where employees work remotely from one location rather than their usual one without informing their employers. Now, So basically, you think you're talking, Mike, you probably think right now, oh, Jeff's in his house doing this thing, when actually I'm in Puerto Vallarta doing this.
That's a great scrim you have up behind you there. It looks like your own office.
Yeah, it does. It's so clear. They do have those the backgrounds you can put up now, where you can
Oh, yeah.
disguise where you are. We had a Zoom call one time at work during the middle of the pandemic, and this woman's on there, and she has some kind of background on there, and when she's moving her head, you could tell there's some, like tearing of the background a little bit. You could sense it wasn't real,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it dropped away, and she wasn't. She was at Park City, Utah. She was supposed to be in Los Angeles
Oops.
at her vacation home. But honestly, to a certain extent, it didn't matter because it doesn't. What she had to tell us, it didn't matter where she was sitting when she told us. But it's become an issue now for a lot of these companies that the pandemic's over. We need you back in here. Oh, what do you mean you can't come back in? Where are you at exactly? Oops. Well, I moved during the pandemic. I'm no longer in America.
Yeah. Well, I think, didn't Amazon just mandate a return to office?
Yeah, they did a little bit of time ago this year, where they
Yeah.
said no more.
Yeah.
You got to be back here. But these hush trippers typically continue to do their work tasks and take Zoom meetings, but refrain from mentioning where they are located. They work from hotel rooms, coffee shops, even short-term co-working spaces, anywhere but home and anywhere but in the city they're in. And this guy said, this Gabby Beckford, a travel expert, said they go as far as to use a VPN to disguise their IP address and location.
Well, it's funny because American business did learn how to operate without having massive corporate headquarters and staff, running around the building, and as a result, the office space industry tanked. There are empty office buildings all over America now.
We were doing a television program in the late afternoon, taping it in the late afternoon. So
Yeah.
we wanted people to come to the studio to do the interviews live. So we had bookers whose the sole responsibility on the show was to convince guests to drive through Los Angeles traffic to get to El Segundo, where it was at, and come and sit in the studio and do the interview live. Well, the pandemic comes, and there's nobody going anywhere, and so we started doing Zoom calls, and WebEx was the other company we used, and we would do the interviews with the interviewees on through those channels.
Yeah.
And basically what we did was we trained them that not to have to come to us to do the interviews. So when the pandemic started winding down, they were just, no, we're not coming in.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to us, it's fine. We'll just do it on Zoom. The whole incentive, it just completely changed. And it's not just our little local show that I was doing, but if you look at any evening television show like a Fox or like a MSNBC or CNN,
Yeah.
half of those people are sitting in their living room somewhere. They no longer feel a need to drive into the studio.
Remember what the restaurant experiences used to be like? The ones that even could stay open with the masking
Yeah, it was terrible.
and it was like, it just reoriented our whole life. So.
It was terrible. It was, and it went through stages too. The first, when everybody was dying and everything, when it was really dead serious, you go to the restaurant and they wouldn't let you in the front door. You'd shout your order out or whatever, that you were there to pick it up, and somebody dressed up in a mask and gloves and everything would bring it out to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right. Well, anyways, that's a downer. Like Joan Vassos would want to talk about that. This next story this was funny again. It's just stupid things that you send me, by the way. I don't know where you get all this stuff. I think it's because it's all on AOL.com.
I have a vast library.
Well, this is called a leading cheese retailer in London, England.
Is this
Has report-
hysterical?
Yeah.
I love this.
They reported the theft of 24 tons of artisanal cheese as a result of a sophisticated fraud, prompting a police investigation and a new local nickname, the Great Cheese Robbery, and great is spelled Grate. So they announced that somehow some thieves get into the back of their place of business and take off with 950 wheels of 3 award-winning artisanal cheddars, worth more than $389,000.
That's a lot of cheeseburgers.
That's a lot of cheese. It's like, and just to get it out of there, it's like, when you go to steal, a thief goes to steal jewelry. Jewelry in itself is small. You can shove it in your pockets. This is they showed a room I had a picture here of the room that the cheese was in. You would take 2 semi trucks just to fill it up. You could fill them up and try to get it out of there.
Well, yeah, and that many tons. Jesus, I mean, that's not a one-man operation.
No, but what for, too? Jamie Oliver, who's a famous chef, has a place in London, he said, I don't know what they're going to do with it, really. He goes, are they going to unpeel it from the cloth and cut it and grate it and get rid of it in the fast food industry? It's like, what do? You have all this cheese, and who's going to buy it? Yeah, like in the back alley. Yeah, give me a.
Yeah.
Give me,
Hey, buddy, you want a wheel of cheddar?
Yeah, give me a wheel of cheddar for a couple grand here, will you? And then you're struggling to carry this gigantic wheel around. Oh, wait a minute, the cops are coming. Where do you hide it? Throw it back in the car.
God.
Oh, man, the things
Where
that
would you
people
store that? Where would you store tons of cheese?
Where do you
Unless you
store
had a
tons of
cooler.
cheese anyways? Isn't that to be in a special environment?
Probably a cooler, probably a humidity, moisture controlled setting of some kind, otherwise of mold.
Well, I think mold is actually part of it. They have to, they
peel
have to
it
get,
off.
they have to peel it off there. But at any rate, whatever it is, it's a crazy thing. So I'm on the lookout. So if somebody approaches me and tries to sell me some cheese out of the back of his car, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah, a guy with a noticeable limp opens his jacket like hey buddy, pick your cheddar.
Pick your cheddar. All right, it's time to say via con Dios to a great man, great artist, Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
The dude was a music performer, producer, arranger, composer, in all sorts of musical disciplines, from pop, soul, jazz, rhythm and blues, even rap. Whiz Bang, you're Whiz Bang. You probably knew of him in business.
I did know him. I did know him.
You did know him?
He wanted to represent me, but I had private agency.
Whiz Bang's not going to go out with anybody like Quincy Jones. You're going to stick with Dr. Dre, somebody heavier.
Yeah. He had his choice. He had his choice between me or Michael Jackson. He took Michael Jackson.
Yeah. He was an amazing guy. I mean, I've seen, or read about him that he worked with Frank Sinatra. I mean, he composed and he arranged and he produced Frank Sinatra albums when he was young. I mean, I'm talking about when Quincy Jones was young. And then, all the way up to he worked with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, not to mention the fact that he probably produced the top-selling greatest pop album of all time, that Thriller and that other one that they did beat it. So he was an amazing guy. His daughter, by the way, is that Rashida Jones, the actress.
Yeah.
She's good. She's a good actress. I just saw her in something. I think I saw her in this crazy Japanese series I was watching. It was called Sunny. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
No, it's crazy Japanese about her husband and son disappear, but the husband, who works in a robotics factory in Japan, left behind for his wife a robot named Sonny, and that, as you find out, this Sonny knows all what's going on and what happened to the husband and the son and who's behind all of it. It's a pretty crazy show.
Wow.
All right. Well, as always, we turn our eyes towards the great sunshine state of Florida to end up the podcast, because that's where everything goes on. This one is a really good one because our hero in this case is 47-year-old Kevin Leroy White. Now, Kevin Leroy lives in a mobile home place.
Of course he does.
And he has, for his career, he's chosen to sell meth.
Good. Yeah, good choice.
And Kevin Leroy is not smart enough to think, well, you know what, I better not sell it right here where I live. because he tries to sell meth right there in the trailer park to his buddies, and who call the cops. So these deputies come by, and that sets off this series of events. First, Kevin jumps onto a motor scooter and takes off. The deputies are chasing him, first at foot and then in the car. And they've got canine dogs with them.
Oh, man.
So Kevin eventually jumps off the motorbike, abandons it, and takes off running in the motorhome place. The dogs are chasing him now, and the detectives. But of course, the detectives aren't as fast as those dogs, because those detectives do nothing but eat, donuts all day, and they couldn't keep up with them. Kevin jumps into a dishwashing machine. What the hell was that?
It was the halo light just fell off the table.
I don't even see any difference in the lighting now, though, even though that thing crashed. There's nothing
It
different.
just makes my hair look better.
No, I'm sorry to say it doesn't do that. I can't tell the difference in the lighting. But
It's just a little darker on one side, but it's all right.
gives you a little air of mystery now.
Yeah, there's something.
Anyways, Kevin, this dope, jumps into a dishwashing machine that was under the porch of a motorhome. The dogs find him in there, and they try to jump in the dishwashing machine with him and biting on him and everything. The detectives or the deputies get there and they pull him out.
Oh my
So
God.
here's a picture of him, and as you can see, he didn't fare well in this altercation. He was arrested on charges of failure to stop for a blue light. What I didn't get from this article is what's a failure to stop for a blue light. I wonder if
It's just a police light.
Yeah, I figured that was a police light, or that down there in Florida they're so stupid they have, instead of red lights, they have blue lights. Driving under suspension, failure to register a motor vehicle, reckless driving, possession with intent to distribute methamphetamine, and resisting arrest. And to add insult to injury, or the other way around, he was also bitten twice by the canines.
Yeah.
So 47-year-old Kevin Leroy, you're on your own. Too bad for you. You're probably a millennial, and you deserved it because you're selling meth right there in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right.
Kevin Leroy.
Kevin Leroy White.
Perfect name.
He was 47. So thank you, everybody, for watching this week. As I said, by the time you're viewing this, we may or may not have another president. We'll see. I hope everybody voted, because that's our civic duty, and this year especially it was important. Please subscribe. If you subscribe, Mike will bring you to a bar where there's a mechanical bull and show you how to ride it.
Ride it.
That's right, you will.
Strap you on and turn it on high.
Oh, throw you off. I went to one of those bars in the 80s when it got all, remember when Travolta was in that movie Urban Cowboy, and
Urban
everybody,
Cowboy, yeah.
everybody was doing it, and there was a bar up on the Sunset Strip that had one of those. So you're talking about a bunch of, people in the Sunset Strip who had never seen a real bull in life, let alone a mechanical one, and get all liquored up and get on top of that bull, and the guy over there, that's in charge of the turning it on, just sit there, he'd be laughing his ass off. And they're not all, pretty soon there's guys flying all over the bar, thrown off by the thing. And they think they're all studly because they were, riding this thing. Anyways, send us an email to oldpeoplethisweek@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your comments. I want to hear all about what you think about Mike's mechanical failure just a minute ago.
Yeah. Could you tell?
It was loud. It scared me. And check us out on Apple and Spotify if you can't stand looking at our faces, even though I'm kind of dapper looking.
Kind of.
Sort of. And check out our Substack. Last week we talked about the upcoming election, and this week, well, we have a special dandy task for you to do that's keep you busy and make you into a better human being. So thank you all. Thank you, Mike. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you.
And we'll have to plan our happy hour excursion this week.
You
Take
gotta
care.
have lots to talk about.
Adios.
Adios.